So, one question we get asked a lot is the question, are handouts ever good? And this is a very relevant question to what's going on even around the world today. We see that when Hurricane Irma came, it devastated so many parts of the Caribbean. Hurricane Maria devastated so many parts. You see earthquakes in Mexico, Houston getting hit hard, South Florida getting hit hard, Puerto Rico, Barbuda, all of these different parts of the world are getting hit hard by these natural disasters. And some might wonder, hey, you say handouts aren't good and that handouts cause dependency, but are they ever good?
And so to begin, we need to kind of go back and start with the basics. What are handouts? Handouts are something that's given for free to someone in need.
Yeah.
And so in the development world, we see this in food, in shoes, in clothing, and those types of things that are given during times of disaster sometimes.
Definitely. But when you look at what development scientists say, when you read books like When Helping Hurts, Toxic Charity, when you read these different, from dependence to dignity, these different really critical books, you'll see that during the time of relief, it's important for us to give handouts. Handouts can be good. Handouts can save lives if you're giving to them, giving it to people in need during times of crisis. So right after these disasters hit, of course we're not going to say, hey, I'm going to try to train you and give you the capacity development that you need. No, they need clothes. They might need food, shoes, these different basic essentials to help after a natural disaster. But here's the key to handouts. Handouts can save lives, but they can also cause detrimental effects to communities if they're given at an inappropriate time. Right after a hurricane or a natural disaster, it's appropriate. But 6 or so months following the disaster, it becomes very inappropriate for you to give these handouts in response to poverty. You see people sometimes, they try to address a chronic issue like poverty with a crisis relief, which is giving handouts and giving clothes. You can't mix those up, or you'll have people dependent. You'll crush local economies. You'll stifle people of their growth. You'll strip people of their dignity if you're just continuously giving handouts.
And I want to highlight something that Bertrhude said there. Research says that from 0 to 6 months, it is appropriate. After a disaster, it is appropriate to give handouts. But after 6 months, maximum 6 months, communities should be moving into development. And so at that time is when you start infusing the training, when you start partnering with community members so that they can grow into independence on their own. So it's very important that when you're thinking about handouts, you take into consideration where a community is at within their development. Is it immediately after a disaster, or are you thinking about giving handouts years after something like that has happened?
Definitely. And even with handouts, there's still the question of, do they need the handouts? Even if there's a natural disaster, do these places need handouts? I know that in Houston, there were so many different cries from relief organizations that said, stop sending your teddy bears. Stop sending your old clothes. Like, we need this specific type of help. Don't just assume that a community that has been hurt needs your old stuff. Ask before you aid. Ask before you give these handouts. And then yes, during certain times, it would be appropriate to give handouts and things of that sort. But it all boils down to asking and seeing where the community is.